Okay, so for this particular chapter, okay, although the concept might be very simple and straightforward, but as usual, when you look at the questions, okay, the multiple choice questions from past years in the test bank, okay, so that it may not be as direct as or as simple as what you see in the notes, but of course, once you understand the basic concept, okay, no matter what the question asks, okay, as long as your foundation or your basic is good, you should be able to understand. Okay, and beginning on chapter 3 onwards, you're gonna look at a lot of graphs or curves, okay, diagrams of in economics. Okay, especially for topic number 3, okay, the beginning of the demand and supply, okay, whereby you're gonna see basic curves. So this slide is taken from the Arnold Mean textbook. Okay, so for today, we're gonna cover the first half, which is on the demand side. Okay, and then on Thursday, we're gonna finish up the chapter with supply side and also on the equilibrium, and also do some revision questions, okay, on the demand and supply topic. So for today, we just gonna cover on the lecture alone. Okay, so on chapter 3, uh, the main focus is, of course, what are the factors that affect demand, factors that affect supply, and also once you understand the concept of demand and supply, when we combine both concepts together, we're going to look at the concept of market equilibrium. Okay, on the remaining parts here, consumer surplus, producer surplus, we're not going to discuss too much into detail. Okay, maybe just a simple concept only, because most of the focus will be on the demand, supply, and also on the equilibrium. Okay, so for each of the component, demand and supply, similar components will be discussed, meaning what are the factors that cause the demand to increase or demand to decrease. What are the factors that will cause your demand curve, the demand curve to shift to the right, to shift to the left. The same thing on the supply side. Okay, so once you understand the mechanics, okay, what causes the demand to shift or to move along the curve, you should be able to answer any questions regarding the topic of demand and supply. Okay, so from the very basic, okay, the cost, what are the costs and what is the effect? Okay, so as what your syllabus is designed, how your syllabus is being designed, as I've mentioned before, the first half of the syllabus deals with microeconomics, okay, and the remaining half is on macroeconomics. So demand and supply is under microeconomics. So micro means we only analyze from the consumer side, from the supplier side, okay, nothing to do on the at the country level, okay, not involving government agency, okay, so just one component at a time. So this is the very basics in concept in economics. Okay, so we're going to start with the basic definition first, market. Okay, so market is a place where people do trade. So of course, you cannot really see the actual interaction of, okay, when you plot the demand and supply curve. Okay, so when you study economics, there's a lot of a number of assumptions, okay, andaian that you need to understand, because we want to visualize the complex world, how the price is being set. Okay, so for example, if you go to the wet market, okay, where people sell fish, okay, chicken, and other things, okay, that you normally see at wet market. So how are prices set? Okay, so prices set based on the demand and supply factor. Okay, for supply, it depends on, okay, whether, okay, for example, the price of certain type of fish, okay, today's price might be different than tomorrow. Okay, so those are affected by factors like weather, okay, supply, how much fish that the fishermen are able to to get when they go fishing and whatnot. From the consumer side, if the price is too expensive and nobody wants to buy, so then the price will start to go down. So that is the interaction between the seller and supplier, so consumer and seller is what we call market. So demand. I'm sure for those who have learned economics, basic economics before, so this topic might seem a bit quite simple. In fact, microeconomics section, chapter 1 to 7 is relatively easier to understand, because there is not many calculations involved, just concepts that you need to understand. So from the demand definition, the willingness and the ability. So there must be two components here. You must be willing and you must have the ability. Ability means the how much money you have in your wallet, in your bank, in order to buy. But even though you have the ability to pay, but you're not willing to buy, meaning that you don't have any preference, or it is not according to your choice or your taste. So demand will not happen. So it must have two ingredients or components for demand to exist. Willingness and ability to buy at different quantity for different quantities at different prices, at specific time. So we only analyze at one particular point of time. So because for example, now during if you recall last year when the government imposed major lockdown, people cannot go out in the month of April, May, June. So there are prices of certain commodity, from certain goods went down, because there are no people who can maybe you are willing to buy, but you don't have the ability to pay, because some people lost their job, they don't have the money to buy, or maybe you are not able to buy because you are not allowed to go to the shop, because of the restriction, the government lockdown. So the standard or the basic law of demand, price goes up, quantity goes down. Ceteris paribus is a term that we use, means that other factors remain constant, because when you want to analyze the law of demand, you must assume other factors beside the price remain unchanged. For example, your taste, weather, seasons. For example, in the next month also, in the next couple of weeks, we will start for the Muslim, we're gonna have our Ramadan, and then we're gonna have our the Eid al-Fitri, the celebration, the Eid celebration. So during that season, certain items or certain goods will have higher demand than other times, especially for clothing, for clothing and apparels, barang pakaian. So the demand for that items will increase during festive season. But when you put ceteris paribus, we ignore all of those factors. Seasons we assume unchanged. Your preference, your taste, cita rasa remains the same. So that is what ceteris paribus means. So you only analyze the price of that good and the quantity demanded for that particular good. We don't look at any other commodities, any other goods. We just focus on the price and quantity of that particular good only. So this is the basic law of demand. Price goes up, quantity goes down. Of course, there are some cases where when the price goes up, quantity also goes up. For example, for luxury items, barang-barang berjenama, branded items, the higher the price is, sometimes the demand can even go higher, because that is a symbol of prestige. But we are talking about the general items, barangan-barangan biasa, normal goods, common goods that most people buy, not just for the rich and famous people. So when we talk about the law of demand, we are referring to normal goods, barangan-barangan biasa. And then you have this this concept of ceteris paribus. And then you need to understand the concept, the difference between quantity demanded and also the word okay, the word quantity demanded versus, okay, let me go to the, okay, if you look at slide number 16, okay, I'm just jump, okay, I just, but I mean, I'm going to this slide just for a short while, okay, before we go back to the quantity demanded just now. Okay, so in economics, okay, when it comes to the demand and supply topic, you need to understand between these two concepts, whether supply or demand. The word demanded versus demand. Okay, so or quantity supplied, okay, SUPPLIED, or supply. Okay, so in economics there is a difference between these two terms. Okay, it's not in terms of English word. One is ed, one is without ed. Okay, so the one without the ed, whether increase in demand or decrease in demand, okay, you are talking about the shift in the demand curve. Okay, whether shifting to the right or shifting to the left. That one is without the ed. Okay, so but if you're talking about, if you're referring to a quantity demanded, okay, this one we start with the, okay, quantity demanded. So the word demanded, okay, quantity demanded, not demand, okay, refers to that you are referring to the movement along the curve. Okay, so if you plot your demand curve, okay, by now I'm sure you should know what is a demand curve. It's a downward sloping, bercerun kiri ke kanan, okay, a downward sloping. Okay, so and in economics, your y-axis always usually we refer to the price, anything to do with monetary value, income, wages, okay, anything to do with dollar or RM sign, we put it on the y-axis. And on the x-axis is usually for the quantity, okay, quantity of goods, quantity of labor, quantity of capital. So whenever you are referring to quantity, usually it will refer to the x-axis. Anything to do with monetary value in dollar sign, in ringgit Malaysia sign, we put it on the y-axis. So for the demand and supply curve, the price and quantity, when we draw a simple linear diagram like this, okay. So the movement along the curve, okay, when we talk about movement along the curve, so the movement from this point to this point, okay, whether you are going up or you are going down, okay, whether going up or going down. So that one is just changes in the price of the good itself. So movement up and down along the curve, we call change in quantity demanded, okay. So the symbol for change in mathematics, we use the triangle symbol, okay, segitiga. Okay, so change in quantity demanded, you are only referring to movement along the line, along the curve. Whether if going downwards, meaning the price start to go down. Okay, when the price goes down, quantity start to increase. Okay, but we call it quantity demanded increase because what caused because the movement is only referring to the along the same line of the demand curve. Okay, so anything to do with the price of the good itself, okay, if the price increase or the price decrease, okay, the movement is only along the same line. So for example, you are talking about one specific brand. Uh, let's say you take a smartphone brand, okay, a Samsung brand, okay, and there are many model under Samsung. Let's say the I remember A52, is it? Okay, I like to watch some of these YouTube videos reviewing all these gadgets. So I think one of the latest model is A52. So if you're talking about the model, the Samsung model A52, okay, so the price and quantity will only be referring to the price of Samsung A52, okay, and also the quantity of Samsung A52. Okay, although there are many other Samsung brands and also other competitors from other brands, okay, whether Android or iPhone, okay. So, but when you talk about quantity demanded of one good, you're only referring to the price and quantity of that good alone. Okay, or in other words, it is movement along the curve. Okay, it does not involve the curve shifting to the right or the curve shifting to the left. That one is another concept. Okay, increase in demand or decrease in demand without the word ed. So the word demanded change in quantity demanded is referring to movement along the graph of the demand itself. Okay, so when you plot a simple demand curve like this, okay, so as usual, why is it is downward sloping? Because of the law of demand, price goes up, quantity goes down. Okay, and again, this is for normal goods, barang-barangan biasa. Of course, okay, as I mentioned, there are some brands, there are some goods where even though the price goes up, people will keep buying more and more. Okay, so especially for not just branded items, but also for limited items or antique items, vintage items. Okay, when the quantity is very small, so the demand could be very high. Okay, limited edition product. Okay, so as long as you understand the concept, okay, why it is downward sloping, and also the concept of quantity demanded, okay, which refers to the change in the price of the good itself. Okay, you're only looking at that particular brand or that particular good. Okay, so that is okay. So why does quantity demanded goes down as price goes up? So this is a simple behavior for consumer. Okay, you don't need a very deep understanding on economics. So why does price goes up? Quantity demanded goes up, goes down when price goes up. So for normal people, okay, for most people around, whether most consumers around the world, okay, when the price goes up, meaning you're going to find substitute, okay, barangan pengganti. You're going to search for another good that is much lower. Okay, so this is a very common behavior. I mean, I don't need to teach you about this logical or normal behavior of any consumer. Okay, so of course, this is in terms of the economics explanation. One is because of you substitute, you meaning that you're going to find uh, another product that serves the same purpose. Okay, so for example, if you go to the market, okay, if you go to the wet market, you want to buy okay, certain type of fish, let's say ikan kembung or ikan termenung, okay. But then if you go and you just want to buy some fish, if the price of that fish is a bit expensive, you're gonna buy another brand or another type of fish, okay. As long as for you, maybe any fish doesn't matter. So as long as you get some fish for you to cook and eat, so that will be fine. So meaning that you're gonna substitute for one type of fish to another type of fish. Another is the law of diminishing marginal utility. Okay, so for this concept here, okay, we are going to discuss in not in too much detail, but in grid. We're going to discuss this concept on the law of diminishing marginal utility in chapter number 5. Okay, maybe on the next chapter. Okay, I can't remember. But we're going to discuss on this concept in the following chapter. Okay, so why when price goes up, why when P goes up, okay, quantity goes down. Okay, so the quantity goes down. One is because of you substitute for another goods that is much cheaper, and another reason is because of the law of diminishing marginal utility. Okay, which so at this stage for chapter number 3, you don't need to understand. I mean, of course, you can just Google this thing in YouTube, okay, to find. But I'm not going to explain this concept now because we're going to discuss this in the next chapters. Okay. So that is on the relationship between P and Q, price and quantity. Okay. So and then we have individual demand curve versus market demand curve. So I think you can understand from this concept. Okay. Individual means only for one person. Market means a combination of many consumers, many individual. You add the demand for every person, then you're gonna get the market demand curve. Okay, so market demand represents all buyers. Okay, in the same market. Okay, so for example here in this simple slide, if you have 1%, 2%, and also the rest of the individuals in one market. When you add all of this, the demand from every single person, you're going to get the market demand. Okay, so at the price of 15, there are 23 quantity demanded, and also for the rest. Okay, so market demand is just the summation, okay, hasil tambah by adding all of the individual demand curve demand, okay, from each of the person in the market, okay, at that particular price. Okay, for every price you're going to have the demand, the quantity demanded, you add everything, you're going to have the total. So that's how you derive market demand. Okay, should be a simple, straightforward. And then this is in terms of graph. So person number one, person number two, and also the rest of the people. Okay, when you add every quantity at the same price, you're going to arrive at the market demand. But basically, the market demand curve or the individual demand curve, the shape will be the same, downward sloping. Okay, it's just how you understand individual demand versus market demand. Okay, market demand is the sum of all individual in the market. Okay, and then this concept of increase in demand versus decrease in demand. So I mentioned just now, okay, the word demanded is referring to movement along the curve. Okay, so the word demanded means you're only talking about the price and quantity of the good itself. So just now we talked about the model A52, okay, Samsung A52 smartphone. So yeah, meaning that what happens along the original curve is just because of the price of you're talking about the price of A52, okay, and the effect of price on the quantity of A52, okay. Yeah, so and if the price of A52 change, the effect is only movement along the curve. Okay, it will not cause the curve to shift to the right or shifting to the left. Okay, so that one is what we call the change in quantity demanded. Okay, quantity demanded increase or demanded decrease. Okay, if increase means the price of that good, for example, A52 model goes down. Okay, so quantity demanded increase. If the price of A52 increase, quantity demanded will decrease. Okay, so the word the term that we use, quantity demanded, okay, to reflect movement along the curve. Okay, but demand can also shift, meaning increase. Okay, whether so the word increase in demand, usually we are okay, the word increase in demand, not increase in quantity demanded. Okay, when you are talking about increase in demand or decrease in demand, automatically you are referring to the shifting of the demand curve to the right or to the left. If increase means the curve will shift to the right. Okay, if talking about decrease in demand, you're talking about the curve shifting to the left. Okay, so that is the main thing what you need to understand. Okay, so the word increase or decrease in demand, okay, directly refers to the shifting of the demand curve. Okay, and then the main thing is what are the causes for the demand curve to increase or the demand curve, what is the cause of demand to increase or the demand to decrease. Okay, so decrease in demand, okay, will cause the curve to shift to the left. Okay, so this is the original curve shifting to the left here, yellow shifting to the right. Okay, but if you're talking about increase in demand, so it is from yellow to right, meaning yellow is the original one, red is the new curve. Okay, so increase in demand versus, and also decrease in demand, both are about shifting of the demand curve. So what can cause the demand curve to shift? Okay, so just now earlier we talked about the term ceteris, paribus, meaning other factors remain constant, okay, or other factors remain unchanged. So when you talk about the law of demand, you are only referring to that particular good. Okay, if you're talking about the model A52 Samsung, so we're only looking at the price and quantity of A52. Okay, other factors, ceteris paribus means what are the other factors? Okay, the other factors is this one just now. Okay, so these are the other factors. When we mention ceteris paribus, we assume that all of these factors remain unchanged or constant. Okay, so that is what ceteris paribus means. Okay, other factors remain unchanged, because if you want to analyze the effect of the price and quantity of that good, you must assume the others does not change, because if this also changes, okay, that will cause the demand to shift, okay, either to the right or to the left, depending on whether you are increasing or you are whether what is the cost. Okay, if income increase, of course the curve will shift to the right. But how about the price of substitute or the price of complementary? Okay, we're gonna discuss this thing today. Okay, and continue on supply this coming Thursday, and then we're gonna do, okay, several questions on this particular topic, so that you can see what does it mean by substitute goods. Okay, here of course we're gonna discuss some example. Okay, but again, at the end of the day, okay, if the price of substitute increase, okay, does that cause your demand curve to shift to the right or shift to the left? If the number of buyers decrease, what will that do to your demand curve? Does it shift, or is it movement along? So these are the typical questions that you normally get in the multiple choice from past years. Okay, so again, if this changes, your demand curve will automatically shift, okay, either to the right or to the left. Okay, it is not movement along the curve. Movement along is only the price of the good itself. But other than the price of the good, okay, that will cause the demand curve to shift. Okay, so the first is the income. Okay, the money that you have in your wallet, in your bank. Okay, so it depends on what type of good. Okay, normal good, as what I mentioned, barang-barangan biasa, the basic stuff or the general stuff that people go and buy in shops. Okay, so that is what we call normal goods. Okay, barangan-barangan biasa, normal items that, okay, that we consume every day, that we use every day for most people. And then you also have inferior good. Okay, neutral good, I don't want to discuss this part, okay, because usually in textbook we only cover these two. Okay, so normal good is when your income increase, you will buy more. Okay, so this is very common. Okay, for example, if you have like a bonus, okay, from your majikan, from your employer, or the government gives you bonus, or any subsidy or bantuan, BRIM or BSH, whatever money, or somebody gives you present, okay, so meaning you have extra income, extra money in your wallet. So for normal goods, whenever you have increase in money or increase in income, the demand for that good will also increase. Okay, inferior goods means goods that are low in quality, low in grade. Okay, so for example, bundle goods, okay, bundle items, or barangan-barangan bundle, or for example, if you go to the market, sometimes if you go to Tesco or to any shops, so usually if the sections, let's say in the section where they sell fruits, okay, so whenever the fruits almost become bad, okay, so they will start to lower the price. So that will fall under inferior good, meaning low quality items that have defects, yang ada rosak, okay, low in quality. Or so that one, if your income increase, okay, usually people will buy less of inferior good. Okay, if you have more income, of course you will not, you want better quality items or better quality goods. Okay, you don't buy more of low quality or inferior good if you have more income. Okay, unless you are a very stingy or kedekut person lah. Okay, but usually we only focus on these two. Okay, normal goods means the normal items. Okay, bread. Okay, general food. Okay, burger, chicken. Okay, so whenever your income increase, demand increase. Income fall, demand will fall. Inferior good is the other way around. When your income increase, okay, you will buy less of inferior good, okay, or low quality good. Okay, and then preference or cita rasa, your taste. So this one, again, it depends on season. Okay, what is the trend during that time? Okay, or maybe during that season is a raining season, musim hujan. So the demand for umbrella, for example, might increase during raining season. Or maybe that is during drought season, musim kemarau, very hot season. So the demand for drink, okay, cool drinks will increase. Okay, so season or your preference, okay, your taste. Okay, for example, during in certain months, okay, I mean, or certain time of the year, maybe that is the musim or the season for certain brand or certain design of certain type of goods. So your preference or your taste, okay, will also cause the demand to increase or decrease. Okay, and also this is a bit you need to understand this concept clearly. Okay, the difference between substitute versus complement. So this is a very common question that you will be tested. Okay, which one first you need to understand whether that good belongs under substitute category or is it belong to complement category, barangan pelengkap. Okay, in Malay we call it barangan pengganti, substitute. Complements is barangan pelengkap. Okay, that substitute means the goods that serve the same purpose. Okay, for example, different smartphone brands. Okay, different smartphone brand. One is, like, for example, Samsung. The other one is Vivo, for example. So both are, let's say, around the same price. Okay, have the same specs, the same processor, the same memory, the same internal specs, or similar specs. So that will be substitute. Okay, barangan pengganti, or things. I mean, commodities that serve the same purpose. Okay, with similar quality or similar characteristics. Okay, so the one is substitute. Complements are goods that must be used together, okay, jointly in consumption. So meaning that you cannot use the other one without buying the other one. Okay, so that is usually complement goods. Okay, for example, if you buy a car, okay, accessory workshop that sells sports rim, or audio system, LCD screen for the car, or any other accessories, okay, that people usually put to make their install to make their car looks much nicer. So those are complements, because if you don't buy car, if the sales of car goes down, for example, during the beginning of COVID-19, people cannot go out, so the demand for car actually dropped quite a lot, okay, all around the world. So when people don't go and buy new cars, so for accessories workshop that sell accessories, okay, changing sport rims, new tires, new audio system, new cushions, those will also be affected, because those are what we call complements. Okay, you buy this thing because you buy the other one. Okay, so complements jointly used in consumption. So the hubungan or the relationship is the opposite of substitute. Okay, for substitutes, the relationship is positive. Okay, one goes up, the other one also goes up. Okay, so if the price of, let's say, if the price of Samsung A52, okay, the price of Samsung, you must look at from the price of one good versus the quantity of another good. You cannot investigate this the price of A52 on the quantity of A52. It must be the price of one good versus and the impact on the quantity of another good. Okay, so for example, we use the example of Samsung A52. So let's say the price of Samsung A52, and let's say we assume that the competition, let's say, is Vivo. Okay, Vivo, I don't know what is the model now. Vivo V21, is it? Okay, let's say Vivo something, V21. Okay, so if these two are if these two models, what we can assume as direct competition, both have similar specs, similar battery size, okay, similar processor. So if the price of Samsung goes up, you might want to buy Vivo, for example. Okay, as long as you don't have any specific preference on the brand. For you, any brand is okay as long as the specs, okay, the specification, the battery, camera is good for you, is okay already. Okay, so if you're talking about substitute, okay, the relationship between the two items, the price of one good against the quantity of another good, must be positive. Okay, positive means the price of Samsung goes up, the demand for Vivo will go up. Okay, people will switch from buying Samsung to buying Vivo. So that's why it is positive. Okay, but for complements, it should be negative. One goes up, the price of one goes up. Okay, then it will lead to the quantity of another one goes down. Okay. So for example, I mentioned about car just now, okay, vehicles. So for example, let's say the price of vehicles go up, okay. The price of cars goes up, okay. So the demand for accessories, for LCD or cushions or new accessory for sport rims, okay, because when the price of cars goes up, people buy less of cars. So the quantity, the demand for, okay, remember I use the word quantity demand, okay, not demanded, because this one you are talking about other than the price of the good itself. So here what you are looking at, okay, when you talk about substitute and complements, we are looking at the effect of on quantity, okay. So here we are focusing on Vivo, the effect of Samsung on Vivo. So that's why we start with the price of Samsung goes up. What is the effect on Vivo? So if I were to plot the graph, okay, I will plot the demand for Vivo, not the demand for Samsung, because the effect is on Vivo. So the demand curve is the demand curve for Vivo, not the demand curve for Samsung. Okay, but the one that is causing the cost is Samsung. The effect is Vivo. So the demand curve that is shifting will be Vivo, okay, shifting to the right. So why to the right? Because the price of Samsung phone goes up, people will switch to buying Vivo. So the demand for Vivo will go up. So the curve that if you are looking at substitute, you must know which graph you are referring to. Okay, so you are referring to the effect of Samsung on Vivo. Okay, so the same thing on the complement side here. Okay, so if you're talking about vehicle sales, car sales, and also accessory shops. So if you're talking about that, so our demand curve will be for the accessory, for example, sports rim. Okay, sport rim for cars. So usually, if you buy cars, new cars, sometimes people, okay, will have this habit of changing the sport rim. Okay, because the factory rim is not nice looking, it's not aggressive enough, so people will go and buy new sport rim, for example. So this demand curve will be for the demand for sport rim. Okay, okay, for sport rim, meaning when people, so if you're talking about complement just now, okay, so the price of vehicles, okay, the price of car goes up, so the effect will be the demand, the demand for sport rim will go down. Okay, so we are looking at the demand of sport rim. So this is P, this is Q. So the demand will shift to the left. Okay, so why to the left? Because when price of cars goes up, people buy less of cars, and the effect will go to the effect is on the demand for sport rim. Okay, people have the less, people don't buy car, then meaning less people want to change rim lah. Okay, so the demand, so we are talking about the demand curve of sport rim. Okay, not we are looking at the effect, not the cost. So the cost is the price of car, the effect is the demand for sport rim. Okay, not demanded, not quantity demanded, but quantity demand. Why demand? Because it involves the curve shifting to the left. Okay, because price goes up. Okay, so if the price of car goes down, then of course this one will start to go up. People buy more cars, then automatically the demand for sport rim also will increase. So you need to know which one, which graph you are looking at. So basically, we are looking at the concept of the cost, okay, from this slide just now, we are looking at the we are looking at the effect, not on the cost. So whenever you talk about substitute or complements, okay, or any other factors, okay, the graph that you are plotting, that you are drawing the demand curve effect, whether the demand increase or the demand decrease, you are looking at the effect part, not the cost. Okay, so for example, if substitute and complement just now, okay, we are looking at if the price of Samsung becomes the cost, okay, the effect is Vivo. Okay, the same thing as the complement just now, car sales versus accessory sport rim. Okay, so the price of car goes up, that is the cost. So the graph that we are going to look at is the effect, which is the demand for sport rim. Okay, so that is what the cost and effect is lah. Okay, from the substitute and complement point of view. Okay, so here of course we have the same graph which I mentioned. Okay, so this is substitute. Okay, of course the traditional example that you find in many books. Okay, Pepsi versus Coke. Okay, two very close cola punya ni lah, carbonated drinks. Okay, so both are competing, meaning they serve the same purpose. Okay, for soft drink. So when the price of one goes up, and then so this one is the effect. Okay, so that's why we are looking at, so Pepsi Cola is the effect graph. So meaning that the cost will be the Coke. Okay, because sorry, the effect will be the cost is the price of Coca-Cola. The effect is the Pepsi Cola. Yeah. Okay, so when you look at these two diagrams, okay, so this is the cost. This is the cost, and this is the effect. Okay, so the cost, so you can see that the effect is the one that is shifting, not the cost. Okay, because when you talk about the cost just now, if you recall our example on the A52 Samsung, okay, so Samsung price goes up, so the price just go up from point, let's say from A to B. Okay, the price of Samsung goes up. Okay, so what is the effect on Vivo? Of course, in this example, they use the example of the price of Pepsi, the price of Coke. The price of Coke goes up, okay, from A to B lah. Okay, so A to B means the price of Coca-Cola goes up. So this is the cost. So the effect when it comes to substitute, okay, Pepsi is a substitute for Coca-Cola. Okay, so the effect is the demand for Pepsi will increase. Okay, so it's the effect graph that we can see whether it's shifting to the right or shifting to the left. The same thing here. Okay, for complements, goods that must be used together. Okay, here they use the example of tennis racket and tennis ball. Okay, so the cost is the tennis racket. Okay, so tennis racket is the cost. So it's just movement along. So the price of tennis racket goes up. Okay, so tennis ball must be used together with tennis racket. You don't simply buy the tennis ball if you don't have the racket. Okay, so that is for most people. Okay, so unless you want to use the tennis ball for some other purpose. Okay, but in general, okay, when you buy tennis, when the price of tennis racket goes up, meaning maybe less people will play tennis. So the effect is, okay, on the tennis ball is the effect. So demand will decrease. The demand for tennis ball will decrease. That will cause the demand curve to shift to the left. Okay, so the one, whenever we talk about the demand curve shifting to the right or to the left, it is always about the effect graph, not the cost. Okay, so that is one thing that you need to understand. Okay, when it comes to this cost and effect, or in terms of the increase or decrease in demand. Okay, and then number of buyers, I think is quite logical. The more people or the more customers you have in the market, demand will increase. Okay, so for example, if there are new housing areas, housing estate, taman baru dibuka, okay, there are new people or people are migrating or moving, increase in terms of the number of population. Okay, so of course the demand will also increase. Okay, so number of buyers will lead, more buyers means demand will increase lah. Okay, and expectation of future price. How many factors do we have left? Expectation, and then okay, so this is the last one, right? Okay. Okay, so expectation. So this is something that you need to understand. Is a bit the opposite of what you learned before on the complement or substitute. Okay, so expectation is what do you expect? Let's say, okay, this month is March. Okay, so let's say in April or maybe in May when it's approaching the Hari Raya, the Aidilfitri celebration after the 1 month of Ramadan. Okay, So this month of March versus the month in May. So in May, certain commodities, certain items might become more expensive, not become cheaper. Okay, or maybe certain item become cheaper because of sale, sale for the Hari Raya, okay, for the Eid celebration. So if, for example, let's say you expect that the price will go down, okay, because you're going to have some sale, maybe end of the year sale, okay. So if you expect that the price to go down in the future, okay, let's say 2 months from now, you expect that a certain item that you want to buy, uh, the price could go down, okay. So if the price might go down, okay, so what will happen to the demand of that good now? Okay, will it increase or will it decrease? Okay, if you expect that the price, so now is March, okay, in the month of March, okay, but if you expect that in May, okay, in May the price of that good will go down. Okay, are you going to buy that good more today or more in the future? Okay, if the price is you expect to go down, meaning today's quantity demand, the demand for today will decrease lah. Okay, because people are waiting until the month of May to make the purchase. Okay, because why buy now? Because now is a bit expensive. If you expect that in the next 2 months price will go down, so when price go down, people will start buying more lah. So if you expect that the price to drop, the demand for today will decrease. Okay, and vice versa lah. If you expect that the price will go up, okay. So for example, because of lack of supply or any other factors, as long as if you expect that the price will increase in the future, if you expect that the price to increase in the next 2 months or so, so meaning that you need to buy the goods now for the price go up. So demand will actually increase today lah. Okay, so demand now will increase because you expect that the price will go up. So if the expectation about future price, if the expectation is for the price to drop in the future, now the demand will decrease because people will wait until the price drop to buy. Okay, so or if you expect that the price to increase in the future, so many people will want to buy now to avoid the price increase. Okay, so that will also cause the demand to shift to the right. So the cost will be the expectation. Okay, whether you expect the price to go up or to go down. The effect is the effect is now. What is the effect today? If you expect the price to drop in the future, the effect is today. What will happen today? Today the demand will drop lah. Okay, because if you expect in the future the price to become cheaper, you will buy less now. So the effect is today. So the graph that you're plotting will be about today's quantity demand, okay, not about what will happen in future. Okay, so I think that's it for our yeah. So this is the difference between change in demand. So you can see it's clearly shown here. Movement along, okay, we call it change in quantity demanded, okay, with the word ED. Okay, shifting of the curve to the right or to the left, we call it change in demand. Okay, change in demand that is caused by the factors that we discussed just now. The increase in income, whether it's the normal goods or inferior goods. Okay, your taste, your preference, prices of related. This one, number 3, refers to complement or substitute. Okay, number of buyers. The more people in the market, the higher will be the demand. Okay. And lastly, that we discussed just now, expectation. If you expect the price to drop in the future, so what will happen now is people will demand less. If you expect the price in the future to go up, okay, so to avoid paying more in the future, you want to buy more now. So demand will increase. So anything that relates to these 5 factors or maybe some other factors that you find in some other books, that will cause the demand to change. So that is what we call change in demand. Okay, because change in demand is referring to movement, shifting of the curve. Okay, shift in demand. But change in quantity demanded is about just the reason for the movement is just the price of the good that change. But the rest of this, income, preference, price of substitute, complements, number of buyers, all of these remain unchanged or constant. Okay. So we're going to continue next